Well, welcome to Talking Jazz Live, and I'm very excited about this special program because my guest today is nobody less than the fabulous Danny Grissett. Welcome, Danny.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
And we're doing something a little bit different than the usual program because we're talking a little bit about you, but actually mostly about somebody else.
It's all right.
It's all
I usually
right.
don't like to talk about myself anyway.
Because we're celebrating Duke Ellington's 125th birth year, and it's been celebrated quite a bit around the globe. It was in April, was his actual birthday. And we are both teaching at a private university in Vienna, the Jam Music Lab University. And I'm a little bit fresher here than you, but it's an interesting path. And John Hassey, who is one of the experts on Duke Ellington, has been able to help us all semester with a research lab and sharing with the students about Duke Ellington. And you've been working with the students with a group to work on some pieces. And so we're going to share about some of the pieces in the background, but I do want to make sure to introduce you first. And you're from Los Angeles, and you came to the piano quite early and ended up via Cal State and actually at the Thelonious Monk Institute. How did you get here?
Oh, that's a long story. But,
Let's make the long story in a synopsis.
To make a long story short, I mean, usually when anyone moves across the globe, there is a woman involved, and there was in this case as well. But yeah, I've been here for 13 years, maybe almost. It's been a while. Actually, officially less than 10, but I was coming back and forth a lot, and yeah, I always liked Vienna, but it was kind of chosen, for me, so to say.
It's a good place to
by
be,
the circumstance.
but you did spend quite a bit of time in New York. We have to say.
Well, I lived there for over 10 years,
Right.
I met a lot of the people that I still work with off and on, but also, I mean, I think I grew a lot as a musician there and learned a lot and made a lot of good connections and yeah, it's an important part of my development, I would say.
And we're connected anywhere in the world these days, so going out, you're touring quite a bit. But yeah, we'll talk about both and keep at it, but we'll go to Ellington here.
Let's do it.
And that first one we're going to play is actually not written by him. It's written by his son, Mercer Ellington.
Let's do it.
And the reason why it was written by his son is because there was a strike. ASCAP said, I want more money for the composers. And they started a different organization. In the end, ASCAP gave in. That was in the 40s, 50s. And during that time, other writers got to write. So Ellington told his son and Billy Strayhorn, go and make sure, write some tunes. I can't play mine right now. So
yeah, it was a golden opportunity for them.
It was. And so out came Things Ain't What They Used to Be, which always applies
Yes.
to anything. It's a blues. Was recorded quite a bit, and we'll dive right in and make some music.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I knew I was in for a treat, but that's a special one. So yeah, let's keep talking about Ellington and make some music. So as I mentioned, so this one was actually by his son. So let's go to an Ellington tune actually.
Yeah.
And we're going to do I'm Beginning to See the Light, which is one of his most popular tunes. And it's interesting. There's a lot of recordings, and of course Ella Fitzgerald really made it popular with her versions and her tribute versions. But there's also discrepancies on how it's interpreted.
Yeah.
Right? Because
we were talking
about that because he starts just sitting on the one chord for a while.
Yeah.
And then it moves somewhere else.
Yeah. You know, some of the after we talked about that, I went and listened to a few different versions, and it seemed like, you know, the simpler progressions were on the earlier recordings, and actually that's kind of right on target for the popular music in general, right? I mean, it really was a popular tune, a pop tune, so to say, of those times, and in pop tunes, the simpler the progressions, the better. Essentially, because they're a little more accessible, I think, to the average listener. And when it gets a little too complicated, too adventurous, you know, and even that, what is too complicated, or what is complicated or adventurous, depends on, you know, where we are in time, you know, as the listener kind of grows their ears and what they can, I don't know, tolerate, you know, and it not being too distractive. But yeah, those earlier versions really kind of just hover around G. There's not a lot of, you know, 2, 5, 1-ish type of progression, which is generally true of tunes back in those times in the 30s and 40s. And like, you know, we were saying that the fake book, how it shows it and how I learned it, is going to the B flat minor and then to the E flat 7. It's a kind of 2-5 relationship. And but the original one was much simpler, but also I think over time he rearranged his tunes and you know, adapted to different things. But yeah, I didn't learn it like that. I learned it later, starting on, because some people start on the 1, and some people start on some people start on the 2 chord. You know, so yeah, it's interesting how tunes evolve over time. And then how they get written down by certain versions, and then a generation of people may learn it that way. And it's interesting to go back and listen to older versions, especially with vocalists.
Especially with vocalists, and especially the phenomenon of the real book, where something got written down in one version that was probably an interpretation, and then it became the essential version. Right.
If at all, if it was even accurate, because sometimes, you know, in some of the earlier fake books, they're highly inaccurate. You know, even when they list the recording, it's like, okay, it's from this recording. You listen, it's like that's not what it is at all. You know, it's really interesting. A friend of mine, Jeremy Pelt, he's been starting a new kind of Instagram series. He goes to these things where he does these little series, and his latest one is called, you know, let's get this SH right, you know, let's get it right. And he just gets on and he talks for a few minutes about, you know, the melodies to tunes, and how, you know, the first 2 episodes were really talking about Miles Davis and how Miles's versions became, you know, the gospel, so to say. And then he goes on to tell you what the real melody is, and you know, kind of follows the evolution of the change. So it's really interesting. I like that, how he does it. It's really it's cool. But it's also just educational, you know. But it's done in a very cool way. Yeah.
Well, the thing is there an ultimate version, especially if you do jazz and you adopt things? And I like the fact that, you know, if you stay on the 1 chord, it's like going into the tunnel, right? And you're going into the tunnel until you see the light.
Or see the light, or if it goes straight to the 5 or the 2, you never know. You know, each one has a different color. This color is different color. This has a different. And also the root movement is different. You know, from it's going to go on up and then, it's different. It has a different, and I think I don't think it was an ultimate version for Duke either for his really popular tunes, because as we saw, he rearranged them and made changes. There are subtleties even in the form. We were just that video that we watched of a Caravan. It was the first time that I really recognized that the solo form is different than the head form. They truncate the amount of the bars. For the sections. Versions. In some versions, it's really really interesting.
So
shall we play this one?
Yeah, I never cared much for moonlit skies. I never wink back at fireflies. When the fireflies come, that's where we'll go.
I actually saw a firefly for the first time when I moved to New York. I'd always heard of them before. My mom would tell me about them, living in the country. But, being a city boy, I never saw one. Even if they were there, the lights were too bright. But no, so I have a different relationship now. I can really know what those lyrics mean. Nice.
Cool.
Yeah.
See, that's why I love those Talking Jazz live things. You never know what happens, and it's usually good things.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
You know, and for me, honestly, that's why I got into jazz, because it's that moment, you know. And
Yeah, I mean,
just go in.
yeah, it's very, very much a mirror of life, because life to me is that same way. You know, you also never know what happens. You can plan, you can plan, you can plan. It's good to plan, but you know, always something that, you know, goes counter to the plan at some point, and it's how you recover. You know, it's what happens next.
It's how you recover, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, well, that's not a smooth transition, but recovery meaning, you know, Duke Ellington has been accused with a lot of his songs or a lot of his compositions that he took from somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And which, you know, we all draw from materials and then put it together. But in his case, it was just so much. I mean, he had to, you know, put things together from many resources.
Mm-hmm.
And he gave credit for a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, for this next one, that's another one by Juan Tissot, who said he wrote this in a train in 10 minutes. And then they played it that night.
Wow.
So it was one of the quickies. And one of the reasons being it's a vehicle that's commonly used in jazz with rhythm changes.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, in jazz at the Philharmonic, when Norman Granz put those things together, that was often a vehicle and was a popular tune on that one. So, I mean, for you as a teacher and a band leader, so, you know, talking about vehicles, talking about rhythm changes, how does Duke Ellington or, you know, the standards tradition filter in your philosophy here of teaching and leading and creating?
Well, in general, I mean, you know, when you want to learn how to compose, you want to learn how to improvise, it's good to play good tunes. You know, it's good to, you know, it's good to play good melodies. You know, like how do you do it? You know, when they say when you want to, you know, speak better or learn a language, you read. Like that's like, you know, great examples. You know, well, good books, like good language. You know, but it's there for you. You know, to kind of read and maybe study. You know, like the sentence structure or whatever. You know, to me, it's the same in music. You know, these tunes have stood the test of time for a reason. You know, a lot of them are beautiful melodies. That's including, you know, not just like standards, like you know, American standards from the, you know, songbook, popular tunes, but also jazz standards. You know, from a lot of the musicians who were, you know, let's say jazz musicians. You know, and so my philosophy is that it's like, you know, we have this body of music to learn from, and it's important to do it. And also, you know, if you're a performer, it's important to play with people, and you have to have stuff to play, you know. And so we have all these tunes that people know or should know, you know, in common, so that when you get together with someone to play, you know, you can say 1, 2, 3, 4, go, you know, and everyone has something in common.
It's a common language, and now it's my microphone.
Yeah. No, it's
Getting
sad.
sad.
Is it something I said?
No, maybe was thinking about it. No, that's okay. So, you know, this tune that we're gonna do, I'll let you do the tapey thing. Perfect.
Yeah.
Perdido.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It's a vehicle for stretching out.
Yeah.
It uses George Gershwin's good format of those AABA forms, and let's see what happens.
Let's do it. Perdido. Okay. All right. I was thinking of tempo. What do you think? We go up from there or down from where we were before? Up like faster or slower from where we were before? Faster, okay.
swing dances is allowed. The dance floor is open, right?
Yeah, right. We need those professional Lindy Hop dancers that we saw.
That was very impressive.
Man,
Yeah.
that's serious. You have to. I mean, those kind of dances you have to like you stretch before. You know, when you get to the dance floor, you get your stretches.
You know, there was a reason why I decided to
otherwise.
become a piano player and be a musician. Because then you can be on the other side and you don't have to.
Okay.
You don't have to do that part.
Looks like fun, actually, but
you try.
You know, that way, yeah. Yeah, maybe 30 years ago, yeah.
So, as they say, we're going to slow it down.
Yeah.
A little bit. And this is probably one of my favorites of his. I don't know. Do you have a favorite, Duke Ellington?
Yes. I mean, well, yeah. I don't have a let's say a favorite. I have a few favorites, but for me, "Sophisticated Lady" is that's one of my favorite slow tunes, and also "Prelude to a Kiss." You know, which my ensemble will play tomorrow. Yeah.
But still in a sentimental mood. Also pulls on the heartstrings.
Yes, it does.
And, you know, little tidbit, it was actually the theme song for no less than 9 radio shows. So,
Really?
yeah.
Wow, there's a nice factoid.
That is a nice factor. So let's make it another theme song here.
Let's do it. Cool. Nice. Yeah. Okay, maybe that's one of my favorites too.
Did I convince you?
Yeah, that song. Actually, that's the first actually Duke Ellington tune, aside from Take the A Train. But I think that's the first Duke Ellington tune that I learned, like a ballad. And I remember telling you that I performed at my high school graduation. They had different things that happened during the ceremony, and I played that song solo piano, and it's been a long time since then, but I see what you mean now. It's a very accessible melody, I would say, very different than like Prelude to a Kiss or some of these more chromatic ones. But it's can't go wrong with the pentatonic scale,
And those minor majors.
Yeah.
They
That's
always
cool.
do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm glad I convinced you.
Yeah, thank you.
It's all good. Well, that was really special, and we got one more to close out.
Yes.
But I'm very, very grateful. My guest is Danny Grissett, for those of you who
very,
hear it
very
on
happy.
audio only later. It's such a treat, and I hope we get to do it more often. But
That would be nice, actually. It's something that in the last, I would say, 5 or 6 years, maybe a little more, I've been doing more of playing duo piano, something that I didn't really do. First of all, it's just outside of like teaching setting, it's rare to have 2 pianos in a space,
You need 2 pianos
Yeah,
for that.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
usually the problem.
Definitely. But really, over the last 5 years, I've done so many 2 piano concerts, and it's become one of my favorite, things to do, favorite settings. It's really cool. So thank you for having me.
Very cool. Yeah, because we pianists, we rarely get to play together.
Yeah.
Because there's only one in the
Yep.
band.
And sometimes even hang out, because like when you go to a gig, there's like, there's not a lot of multiple pianists on a bandstand. There'll be several saxophonists, and they get together, they talk reeds and mouthpieces and stuff, and same with the drummers, or horn player, trumpeters, But this is cool.
Very cool. So we got one last one that we, has the right title. Don't Mean a Thing. And as we were commenting earlier, there's a lot of Duke Ellington in Thelonious Monk, and you notice
100%. Yeah. That's something I've always noticed, and it was particularly evident on one of the videos that John was playing. Just rhythmically speaking, there's so much in common there, let alone the harmonic and kind of like melodic choices. The rhythm is something that I think they have like this together, or that that Monk really took from him. And when you listen to Monk's tunes, they all have something very strong rhythmically about them, to where you could almost take the melody out and just have the rhythm, and it's actually a nice tune, just a rhythm, which I love about his tunes. But anyway, my favorite version of this tune is actually Monk's version, on his Duke. Monk plays Ellington. So yeah.
Well, thanks again for doing this, and we'll take it out.
Let's
It
do it.
don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. Danny Grissett. Thank you.